Sir Isaac Newton has recently been appointed Man of the Millennium. And even he admits to building his innovation on the backs of the innovators before him. Any innovator, from the sculptor to the software developer, will tell you the same, that they could not have achieved this high mark unless the trail was worn by artists before. The best example of the connected innovator is very close to home. One small Israeli company known as Mirabilis. Their product, known as ICQ, is probably the most innovative application of internet technologies to date. Using ICQ, anybody connected to the internet immediately knows who of their associates is online and who is not. The associated users who are online can share text messages, open a chat window, send email to one another, and even transfer files. If you are one of the few who hasn't tried ICQ, I highly recommend it. If you are one of the 9 million ICQ subscribers, then you already know how wonderful it is. The wonder of ICQ's phenomenal success was that it lacked any significant corporate sponsorship. There was no million-dollar marketing campaign, no strategic alliances, no bundled packages. People used ICQ simply because it worked, and more importantly, it worked their way. It was simple, unobtrusive, and free. The individual user was put before the financial success of the product. But there was one major factor that without which ICQ could never have existed: the ubiquity of the internet itself. Without the standard protocols of the internet, hammered out over years of research, ICQ could not function any more than the internet could function without phone lines. Even Mirabilis required the shoulders of giants. In the industrial age, the success of an idea depended largely on its mass appeal and practicality. The ability of an innovator to fit into a particular mold, usually defined by some well-established predecessor, dictated their success. Necessity was the mother of invention. Few understood this better than the great industrial inventor Thomas Edison. Innovation, whether as practical application or as pure art, requires a distribution channel in order to reach its intended audience. This channel is required for both awareness and distribution of the product. In the industrial era, the age of mass, the only available distribution channels were mass media, centrally controlled, such as radio, then television. Broadcast media are implicitly bureaucratic. Producers determine the content of the media depending on their interpretation of mass demand. The more practical the innovation, and the more useful it is to the common man, the more likely it was that the producer would choose to endorse it. Any innovations that lacked corporate sponsorship were more or less doomed to obscurity. Furthermore, supportive sources for budding innovators, such as the work of fellow innovators, were scarce. Resource libraries typically carried only the mainstream. The most useful information was locked away in a corporate vault. Finding fellow innovators in a particular niche was difficult. Consistently and productively communicating with them was next to impossible. Even with the appropriate knowledge in hand, an idea still required capital resources in order to bring it to fruition. Again, that leads back to some form of sponsorship. If somehow, miraculously, an industrial independent innovator still managed to build his invention, finding or forming communities of interest was exceedingly difficult. Often the invention was targeted at a niche group, the members of which were geographically distant. Maintaining interest and demand quickly became expensive, but in the information age, most of the roadblocks that once faced the budding innovator are decisively torn away. The internet offers innovators not just a distribution channel, but the distribution channel. Since communities on the internet are formed for no reason other than common interest, finding niche markets becomes as simple as doing a keyword search. Corporate sponsorship is no longer necessary, since the problems of both awareness and distribution can be solved relatively easily using a website. And finally, fellow innovators are about an ICQ number away. Innovative ideas require knowledge in order to grow. In the industrial age, most cutting-edge knowledge was owned and tightly controlled by the very same bureaucracies that also controlled the capital resources, either a corporation or the government. In either case, innovation required the endorsement of a senior body in order to flourish. Without sponsorship, your idea would nearly always fail. Producers, the heads of mass media, determined which innovations were worthy of their endorsement based upon their interpretation of mass demand. Again, necessity was the mother of invention. The irony in this bureaucracy is that those determining which products to foster were also the most removed from the innovation itself. In the information age, innovation sparks innovation. Information technologies and the networks which bind them together facilitate many of the intermediary steps in both the distribution and creation of ideas. In fact, the two are very closely related. To solve the problems of awareness and distribution, innovators are provided with the World Wide Web. Through the web, communities of niche interest are easy to find, create, and maintain. If your idea or invention is targeted at a particular interest rather than the masses, you are no longer condemned. In fact, quite the opposite is true. Among the groups which you are aiding, you are that much more revered because you are offering them an innovation which caters to their unique needs. To aid in the process of creation itself, innovators have provided smart tools which ease the transition from idea to creation by removing mechanical intermediary steps. Software such as AutoCAD, for example, removes many of the mechanical steps involved in the engineering process. Network tools are only a part of a larger conceptual advantage offered by networked innovation. Current trends in software development, such as Corba, Java, and XML, point to a model where individual components are inherently interoperable with all other components. In Java, for example, if a customer order object requires a credit check, it needs but to call the credit check object. It doesn't matter whether two objects are on the network, and it doesn't matter whether they were developed together. In a world of networks, innovation builds on innovation directly, without any human intervention. Therein lies the close relationship between idea distribution and creation in the information age. When you connect your ideas to the network, they will combine with other ideas quite literally to produce something completely different. This concept of innovation without human intervention is no less than a new form of creation itself. In Nicholas Negroponte's world of bits, artists can find like artists, and art can find like art. Innovators spark innovators, innovations sparks innovation, but the really exciting advancement in this, is this. In the world of connected intelligence, innovation innovates.